Picture this scenario for a second. You have exactly 24 hours.
Okay.
You have a ring burning a literal and metaphorical hole in your pocket. You have this meticulously crafted, minute-by-minute plan to change the entire trajectory of your life.
Sounds stressful already.
Right.
Huh?
And from the very first second, absolutely nothing goes according to plan.
It really does sound like the setup for a high-stress romantic comedy, doesn't it?
Totally.
But it's actually a perfect case study in the psychology of control. It captures that universal crushing pressure of the perfect proposal and what happens when reality and specifically other people just completely get in the way.
It's a nightmare scenario for anyone who likes a schedule, which is why today we are doing a deep dive into a short story titled Epiphany and Blue Grotto by Uday Mukherjee.
It's a great piece.
It really is. And on the surface, sure, it's a romance about a couple in Italy. But looking at the source material, this feels like it's actually about two warring philosophies of existence.
I'd agree with that. It's less about will they or won't they, and more about the clash between the curated life versus the experienced life.
Right, the curated life.
Yeah, it asks this really difficult question. Does living in the moment mean constantly moving and swiping, or does it mean staying still long enough to actually feel the weight of things?
So let's look at the players here. We start at a ferry terminal in Naples.
Mm-hmm.
We have our narrator, David. And right away, the text establishes his mental state. He is not having a good time.
Not at all. I mean, they miss their ferry to Capri by literal seconds.
The worst feeling.
Right. David watches the boat pull away, and he's just devastated. He's looking at his watch. He's calculating the lost time. He's treating this trip like a military operation.
Because he has a mission.
Exactly. He has an objective, the proposal, and every single delay is a threat to that mission.
And then you have Emma. The contrast is almost immediate. Because while David is doing the mental math of disaster, she's laughing.
She's completely unbothered. She points out they have croissants, they have coffee, the sun is shining. She literally reframes the failure as just more time on the sea.
Which is a nice way to look at it.
It is, but this dynamic is the engine of the whole story. David lives in the future, specifically the future where she says yes, while Emma is aggressively inhabiting the present.
But this isn't a meet cute, right? I mean, they have history.
Oh, a lot of history. They're approaching their 30s now. They've been in this on-again, off-again cycle for years.
Right.
The text mentions Emma has left town 3 times in 5 years for different jobs. This isn't a stable foundation. It's a moving target.
Which explains David's anxiety perfectly. He's not just trying to be romantic. He's trying to nail down a moving object.
Precisely. David explicitly mentions he wants to settle down and stop doing the dance.
The dance.
Yeah. He views routine as a stabilizing force. He even makes this really interesting philosophical point that the universe itself runs on routine. Orbits, tides, seasons.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he sees safety in repetition.
But Emma has gone on record calling marriage something for losers.
Yeah.
That's a pretty intense stance to take when your boyfriend is literally planning a proposal.
It's a defense mechanism, likely.
Mm-hmm.
She believes the dance, the courtship, the uncertainty, the novelty is the best part of life. To her, everything after that is just a slow decline into boredom.
So he has his work cut out for him.
Oh, absolutely. So David has brought her to Capri, one of the most beautiful places on earth, effectively as a bribe. He's trying to convince her that permanence doesn't equal death.
Okay, let's unpack this dance idea, because I think a lot of you listening can relate to that thrill of the unknown, the excitement of a new relationship.
Sure.
But David is done with it. He wants the boring stuff.
Well, he wants the real stuff, and that's the core conflict here. Emma thinks real is the high of the new. David thinks real is the accumulation of the old.
That's a great way to put it.
So the stakes are set right. He has 24 hours to convince her to commit.
Yeah.
And that insecurity gets triggered almost immediately on the next ferry. They're finally on the boat. The sun is shining. David is trying to pivot back to romance, and they get interrupted.
By the modern world's version of a chaos agent.
Yeah.
A teenager with a smartphone.
Enter Megan. She's about 17. She's chasing seagulls for an Instagram story. She stops, turns to them, and asks the fatal question, "Are you guys a couple?"
And this is the first real crack in David's armor, because he immediately says, yes, I'm her boyfriend. And Emma whispers, for now.
For now.
That is brutal. I mean, that has to sting.
It's absolutely devastating. David tries to play it off. He jokes about being the boyfriend for the trip, but the text makes it clear he is rattled.
Of course he is.
It reinforces his deepest fear, that for Emma, he is temporary. just another stop on her tour before she moves to the next city or the next job. It's a verbal reminder that she has one foot out the door.
And it gets worse. Megan isn't alone. She drags her whole family into David and Emma's private bubble.
Yeah.
We meet Michelle the mom and Sylvia the grandmother. Suddenly, David's cinematic private getaway is hijacked by 3 generations of chatty tourists from Colorado.
This is the intrusion of reality I mentioned earlier. David wants a curated moment. He wants the movie version of Italy. What he gets is a family who are just excited to see the ocean because they're landlocked.
I find the reaction to this intrusion really interesting, though. David is annoyed. He wants them gone. But Emma actually engages with them. Is she just being polite?
I think it's more than politeness. It completely aligns with her go-with-the-flow philosophy. If strangers sit down, you talk to them. She's open to the randomness of life.
Whereas David is just looking at his watch.
Right. David sees strangers as obstacles to his goal. But structurally, these 3 women are crucial to the story. They represent a mirror.
How so?
Well, you have Megan, the distracted teen, Michelle, the mother, trying to manage the experience, and Sylvia, the grandmother, who is physically limited but mentally very present.
It's almost like the ghosts of Christmas, past, present, and future, but for relationships and attention spans.
That's a fantastic way to put it. You see the progression of how we interact with the world through these 3 women.
So this odd group arrives at Capri together. And the source description is just vivid. Turquoise water, limestone cliffs, lemon groves. It's postcard perfect.
Which usually signals in a story that something is about to go wrong.
Naturally. The American family basically invites themselves along for David and Emma's trip to the Blue Grotto. David is screaming internally at this point. He's losing control of the timeline.
He's thinking, I have 24 hours to save my relationship, and now I'm a tour guide.
Right.
But then they hit a snag. A serious logistical hurdle that threatens to derail the whole afternoon.
Right. To get into the Blue Grotto, you can't just take the regular ferry, and you have to transfer to these tiny, wobbly dinghies.
Right.
Because the cave mouth is so incredibly small.
Yeah.
And Sylvia, the grandmother, takes one look at that transfer and realizes she can't do it. She's worried about her mobility and her weight.
It's a really heavy moment in the text. They've traveled halfway around the world, and now the matriarch is going to be left on the dock. It shifts the mood from annoyance to empathy. Yeah. Even David, who just wanted them to leave, feels the weight of it. It's this stark reminder of physical fragility.
But this leads to a solution that David, with all his meticulous planning, could not have engineered.
No, it comes entirely from the local culture. A boatman steps up. He sees the problem, and he offers to take Sylvia on a quote-unquote date.
I love that.
It's great. He has a slightly larger boat, and he says he'll take her separately so she doesn't miss out. It's charming, it's human, and it solves the problem without needing a schedule.
It diffuses the tension entirely. Everyone laughs. Sylvia gets her special trip, and the rest of them, David, Emma, Michelle, and Megan, they pile into a dinghy to enter the cave.
And we really need to pause on the description of entering the grotto because the author uses very specific imagery here.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just sailing into a cave. You have to lie flat on the bottom of the boat. The boatman grabs a chain attached to the rock and physically yanks the boat through a tiny opening, maybe a meter high.
It sounds intense, like a birth canal metaphor.
Very much so. You go through this tight, dark, claustrophobic squeeze, and then boom! You are birthed into this cavern with luminous, glowing blue water.
The physics of it are so cool. The light comes from sunlight filtering through the limestone underwater, so the water literally looks like it's lit from below.
It's otherworldly. The acoustics are perfect. The boatmen are singing Italian songs. It is the definition of a moment. It's the exact environment David wanted.
The atmosphere is finally perfect. Emma is awestruck. She's holding his hand, the silence, the blue light, and then the silence is completely shattered.
By technology.
Of course.
Megan is live streaming the cave on Instagram.
I can just picture this. You're in this ancient, sacred feeling space, and you just hear, hey guys, look where I am. It's so jarring.
It's the ultimate modern intrusion, and Michelle, the mom, just loses it. She doesn't just shush her, she snatches the phone right out of Megan's hand.
This seems like the real climax of the story. It's not the proposal, it's this argument between a mother and daughter. But Michelle says something during this lecture that feels like the thesis statement of this whole deep dive.
She does. She's holding the phone. Megan is protesting, and Michelle says, you haven't gained any actual Blue Grotto experience yet.
You haven't gained the experience. That's a weird way to phrase it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, she's standing right there. How can she not have the experience?
Because she's mediating it. Michelle argues that because Megan is so busy broadcasting the experience, she hasn't actually processed it. She hasn't felt it.
She says don't ignore the real thing.
Yeah.
She points out that people queue up for hours to feel the energy, not just to see the visual.
This connects to a concept we see a lot in psychology, the difference between the experiencing self and the remembering self. Megan is trying to curate a memory for her audience before she's even finished living the moment. Michelle is demanding she be present. She says you can only share what you have. If you haven't felt it, you have nothing to give.
That's powerful. You can't share an empty container.
Exactly. And this argument happens right in front of David and Emma. It's awkward. There's dead silence in the boat. David, desperate to save the mood, pays the boatman for a second round inside the cave just to buy some time.
But here's where the story pivots. Because that lecture wasn't just for Megan, was it?
No, it acts as a massive catalyst for Emma. Think about Emma's philosophy we discussed at the start. She's been chasing the dance, the fleeting moments, the boyfriend for now.
She treats her life exactly like Megan treats the cave.
Bingo. She's moving quickly, she's keeping it light, she's avoiding the heavy, permanent reality, she's just skimming the surface. Michelle's words don't ignore the real thing. They land completely differently for her.
So she connects those dots.
She realizes that by avoiding commitment, she's essentially doing exactly what the teenager is doing, curating a fun life without actually inhabiting the depth of it.
So she realizes that the real thing in a relationship isn't the vacation in Capri. It's the commitment.
It's the sum total of moments David talked about. It's the routine. It's the weight. You can't feel the weight of the water if you're just taking a picture of it. You have to get in.
Wow. So the boat goes around for the second lap. The light is shimmering. The boatmen are singing again. And Emma looks at David.
And she flips the script entirely.
She grabs his hand, looks him in the eye, and says, Michelle is right. I don't want to ignore the real thing anymore. And then she proposes to him.
It's a brilliant narrative reversal. David spent 24 hours stressing, planning, trying to control every variable to create the perfect environment for a proposal. And in the end, his plan failed spectacularly.
Yeah, the romantic privacy was ruined by strangers. The silence was ruined by a teenager.
But the failure was the success.
How do you mean?
Well, if everything had gone according to David's plan, perfect sunset, no tourists, quiet romance, Emma might have said no. Or she might have given another for now answer because she would have still been in vacation mode.
Ah, nice.
It was the intrusion of the messy, loud, real world that pushed her to realize she actually wanted something real with him.
That is so ironic. The strangers he wanted to get rid of were the ones who literally saved his relationship.
It validates the idea that you just can't script life. David's mother used to say everything happens for a reason, and David always scoffed at it. But here, this chaotic American family provided the exact philosophy Emma needed to bridge the gap between them.
I want to talk about the fact that Emma proposes. That feels really significant regarding the power dynamic between them.
It's vital. If David had proposed after that argument, it might have felt like he was capitalizing on the moment or trying to trap her in a routine. By Emma proposing, it's an act of agency.
Right, she's taking control.
She isn't surrendering to his routine. She's choosing to dive deep. She's choosing the real thing on her own terms.
It really redefines what living in the moment actually means.
That's the key takeaway for me. We often think living in the moment means being spontaneous, impulsive, unattached, like Emma at the start. But the story suggests that true presence requires you to stop running.
To actually stay somewhere.
You have to put down the phone, stop changing cities, and actually sit in the boat. Commitment isn't the opposite of living in the moment. It's the ultimate way to inhabit it.
It's not settling, it's grounding.
Exactly. It's becoming part of the landscape rather than just a tourist passing through. And looking at the generations in the story, you have Megan distracted by the digital future, Michelle fighting for the present reality, and Sylvia the grandmother, who is physically limited but finds joy through connection with others.
They all contribute to this epiphany.
And David. He finally learns to let go of the schedule.
He has to.
He ends up paying for extra time in the cave, not to stick to a plan, but to extend the epiphany. He realizes that the perfect moment isn't the one you plan, it's the one you recognize when it hits you. He stopped checking his watch.
It's a beautiful story. Epiphany in Blue Grotto. It makes you think twice about getting annoyed at tourists next time you're on vacation. You never know if their drama is going to change your life.
Or at least it might remind you to put your phone away and just look at the water.
I think we've all been Megan at some point, haven't we? Desperate to show everyone we're having a good time instead of just having it.
Absolutely. The validation loop is addictive. But Michelle's point is the antidote. The validation doesn't count if the experience itself is hollow.
So here is the question this story leaves us with. We live in a world that is obsessed with documenting everything. We plan our lives down to the minute. We treat relationships like trial subscriptions because we're terrified of being bored.
The story challenges us to ask if we are just skimming. Are we Megan worried about the angle of the photo? Or are we willing to be Michelle demanding the actual experience? And are we brave enough to be Emma and admit when we've been running from the real thing?
It's a paradox, isn't it? We usually associate freedom with a lack of obligation. The ability to leave, to change plans, to swipe left. But there's another layer here. What if our obsession with capturing every single memory is actually just a fear of time passing us by?
Oh, that's deep.
Maybe the greatest freedom isn't running from routine. Maybe it's the ability to choose one thing, one person, or one place and stand still long enough to let it anchor you in time.
That's the real question. Are you watching the blue grotto on your screen, or are you actually inside the cave?
Something to think about next time you're planning a perfect moment. Thanks for exploring this one with us.
Anytime.